Hi guys, it's me Ria and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing with you all my top 5 full coverage concealers. So there will be a second part where I will be sharing my other concealers which are which have that light to medium coverage, but this video I specifically wanted to keep it like full coverage concealers only. So the first concealer that I'm going to be talking about in today's video is my absolute favorite. So this is the MAC Studio Finish Concealer in the shade NC45. So you guys might be thinking, if I'm like NC43.5, then why am I using this darker shade concealer? That is because you can also use a darker shade concealer to hide out the dark circles and the pigmentation. If you guys do not know, a darker shade of concealer also works really well in hiding those imperfections without having to use an orange corrector. Okay, and also because in this particular range there is no NC43 shade, there is NC42 and then there's NC45. Now NC42 looks very light in my under eye area, and even to cover my pigmentation it's a little light for me, and this one is just a little bit darker, but I feel a darker concealer helps me to cover up my hyperpigmentation in a better way without having to use an orange corrector. Okay, so this is what the shade looks like you can see it's just a little bit darker for me, but it covers up my dark circles and hyperpigmentation beautifully. This is like a beautiful emollient creamy concealer that's very easy to use. I just have to warm it a little in my fingers and just dab it in my under eye area and around my mouth, and it just covers so beautifully. Even if you have seen my 5-minute makeup challenge, I had used this concealer only because it's like a quick fix. Whenever you are in a hurry, or whenever earlier I used to go to office, this is the only concealer that I used to use because this is very quick. You don't need a separate brush or a sponge to use this concealer. You just have to with your fingers itself dab it around your imperfections, and it will just cover it up beautifully. Also, this is like a very concentrated formula, so you do not have to apply too much of it. Okay, just take it a little bit, apply it, and blend it nicely, and then if you feel like you can layer it up more, but because this is like a concentrated formula, ideally you wouldn't be required to apply too much of it. Now this one is the most expensive one. This is for almost like 2,400 rupees, which I do agree it's very expensive, but it's totally worth the price. And I would suggest buy this when there is like an offer going on Nykaa or MAC official website, where there's an offer like buy 2 get 1 free. That time if you buy, you would find get this at a better deal if you do not want to splurge so much. But trust me when I say this is a beautiful concealer. You have to try it out to see for yourself also. And also this contains SPF 35, so that's like an additional protection from the sun also. So most of the days I just use this concealer directly in my under eye area, and I cover up my spot conceal my pigmentation and everything, and then I just set my entire face with any compact powder, and it just gives me that flawless finish because it's also very long lasting, because it's like a creamy concealer. It does not smudge, it does not budge from your face, it does not settle into your fine lines, and it just works beautifully overall. So this is the first concealer that I would highly recommend you do try out. The second concealer again is the one that I've spoken quite a lot on my channel. That is the Too Faced Born This Way concealer. Now these two concealers, I just cannot pick and choose between them. A lot of people did ask me which one would you go between the MAC and the Too Faced, but honestly it's so damn difficult to choose between these two because this works beautifully for me. This is like my quick fix. Whenever I want to get that quick fix, I use this, and this one is like my skin tone in a bottle. And to be honest, nowadays I use this all over my face also as a foundation. It's that good. So this one is in the shade Warm Sand, and it just matches me so damn well. It retails for rupees 1,900, but you get quite a lot of product in here. Okay, so this one contains 15 ml of product, which is way more than your any average concealer that you would get. Most of the concealers that you would find would be somewhere between 8 ml to 10 ml, but this one does contain 15 ml, and like you can see the product quantity itself, you can see the packaging, it's quite huge and bulky, so there's quite a lot of product inside. And now this one is a very nice hydrating full coverage concealer, which looks very skin like. It whenever you are applying this over your face, all over your face also, it is not going to look cakey at all, and at the same time it's just going to beautifully cover up your all imperfections very beautifully without looking cakey, and it will just make your skin look so much more smoother and even, you know, that I really love using this concealer. So again, I know this is a little bit pricey, but you know, the kind of coverage and the kind of finish that this product gives is unlike any. Now there are, you know, a lot of YouTubers saying there are different dupes for this particular concealer, but to be honest, the kind of effect that this one gives is totally different. And although there are dupes, but your skin looks totally different and flawless and smooth, you know, when you use this concealer. So no matter how many dupes, you know, people might say there are, but this is just like one of the kind concealer, and I would highly recommend you have to try out this concealer to believe what I'm saying, you know. So yeah, this is the next concealer. The third concealer is by L'Oreal, and this is their Infallible Full Wear Concealer. Now this is very similar to the Too Faced one in terms of the, you know, coverage also. I would say it's very similar, but the only problem in this one is that it gives you a very matte finish. Okay, unlike the Too Faced one is very hydrating, and this one just gives you like a soft focus to your skin, you know. But this one is pretty matte in texture, so if you have like extremely dry skin, then you might feel this a little bit too matte. Okay, so the shade I am in this one is 317 Almond, which is unfortunately the darker shade that they have in this range, and I really hope that L'Oreal does come up with deeper shade ranges as well, because this particular shade it is just a little bit light for me, so I do use it to cover up my imperfections, but I do have to set it with a slightly, you know, my same skin tone powder to kind of not make it look very different. Okay, so it works beautifully in my under eye area as a brightening concealer, but if I have to like cover up my imperfections, then this can look a tad bit light, but then, you know, it's nothing that I cannot like really work around with. But just around my mouth, I have to make sure to set it with a compact that's pretty similar to my skin tone, so then it looks good enough. So this is a beautiful full coverage matte waterproof concealer, and I really hope that, you know, L'Oreal does come up with deeper shades also in this range, because the formula is really nice. Also guys, because this is like a thicker concealer, make sure you're not applying too much of it, because it can look cakey. That's just a little drawback that I did find with this concealer. So that is where, you know, the difference between these two concealers come. First, that this one is more matte, and secondly, because it's matte, it can look little cakey also if you're applying a little bit too much. And this one is, like I mentioned, very hydrating, gives you a soft focus finish. So that's the little difference that you would find between these two concealers. But again, this one retails only for $7.99, so it's like very budget friendly, I would say. If you do not have the budget of, you know, splurging in high-end concealers, then I feel this is a good enough option. The next concealer is this one by Wet n Wild. This is the Photo Focus Concealer in the shade Medium Deep Tan. Now again, this is like a beautiful hydrating concealer. The consistency of this concealer is neither too thick, neither too runny. Okay, it's somewhere in between, so that makes it very easy to apply. Now the coverage of this one, I would say, is medium to buildable. I wouldn't really call this like a completely full coverage. Okay, thoda sa wo pigmentation peek through hota hai, but that also depends on the severity of your discoloration. Okay, so if you have like very intense dark brown pigmentation, then it might not cover it up fully. But if you have like slight pigmentation here and there, then it does the fabulous job of giving like a full coverage, you know. That is why I included it in this video, because it definitely gives you more than a medium coverage for sure. Okay, again, this looks very natural on the skin. It does not feel cakey at all, and it's also a very nice hydrating formula, I would say it's not matte but it's not dewy either, you know, it's somewhere in between. So that is why I would highly recommend you again do try out this concealer, because again this is like very affordable. And the last concealer is this one by PAC. This is the Spotlight Ready Liquid Concealer. So this again is a medium consistency concealer. It's neither too thick nor too thin. It's somewhere in between, and it is priced at rupees 765. Now this particular shade, Frozen Caramel, I find it pretty similar to the Too Faced Born This Way one. These two, the shade wise, are pretty similar. So that is why I like using this all over my face, whether to set my under eyes or, you know, to cover up my hyperpigmentation. It works beautifully. Now this has a slightly matte finish and it also dries down pretty quickly, so you have to, you know, work it in areas. Like if you are applying over here, you know, just blend it first and then apply it to the other areas, because, you know, this sets up pretty quickly, so you don't get much of blending time, you know, with this, because once it sets, it's kind of a little difficult to blend it. So that is the only thing that I have. So that is the only issue with this concealer, but nothing that it cannot be worked, you know. Work in smaller areas, because this does set pretty quickly, but coverage wise it does a fabulous job. So yeah, that's just a little thing with this concealer that you have to be careful about, that it does set pretty quickly, but it does give you a beautiful full coverage. And again, the price of this one is very affordable, only for 765, so that makes it very affordable. So yeah guys, those were all my foundations that I generally gravitate towards, because these are totally full coverage, and personally I love full coverage concealers for myself, because मेरा स्किन में ना इतने सारे discolorations है that I have to use a full coverage concealer. So yeah guys, that's it for this video. I did hope you find this video helpful. In my next concealer video, I will be sharing light to medium coverage concealers also. And probably in that video I will you know, swatch all my concealers together, so you get, like, you can take a screenshot or whatever of it. So yeah, I will be doing that in the next video pretty soon, so please stay tuned for that. So yeah, that's it for this video guys. I will see you soon in my next video. Until then, bye bye.